The Vashtorr Dominion had conquered 11 star systems without losing a single fleet engagement. Their war doctrine was elegant: overwhelming force, zero mercy, total subjugation. When their scout ships found the blue-green world called Earth, tucked in an unremarkable arm of an unremarkable galaxy, Fleet Admiral Threxa saw nothing but another conquest waiting to happen. She was wrong. Colonel Dana Whitfield stood on the observation deck of the USS Cascadia, watching the Vashtorr armada bloom out of the dark like a plague of silver locusts. 43 warships. Earth had never faced anything like it. Estimates? She asked. Lieutenant Commander Ray Ostrowski didn't look up from his console. They outmass us 4-1. Their shields are rated for weapons we don't have yet. Good, Whitfield said. Then they won't be expecting the ones we do. Behind her, the war room fell quiet. Humanity had spent 18 months since first contact. 18 months of watching Vashtorr transmissions boast about 11 dead civilizations. 18 months of quiet, furious preparation. No treaties, no parades. Just factories running 3 shifts and scientists who hadn't slept properly since the Dominion's ultimatum arrived: submit or be erased. Earth had answered with silence. The Vashtorr took that as fear. They were about to learn the difference between fear and patience. Admiral Threxa. Vol watched the human fleet arrange itself in a formation her tacticians called inefficient. 12 ships spread thin. No central flagship posture, amateurish. She ordered the first wave forward, probing fire, standard doctrine, softening the herd before the slaughter. The human ships didn't return fire. They simply moved, not retreated. Moved, in patterns that made no sense on her targeting grid, vectors that seemed to fold space around her sensors rather than through it. 3 of her escort cruisers lost their locks entirely. Her 4th reported its shields draining for no discernible reason. Report, Threxa demanded. Unknown interference, Admiral. Something in the debris field. There was no debris field. There hadn't been 30 seconds. Ergo what Threxa didn't know, what no one outside a classified research base in the Nevada desert knew, was that humanity's first 18 months of silence had been spent building something the Vashtorr had no framework for. A swarm of self-replicating drones no bigger than a fist, engineered by a team led by Dr. Priya Anand and her stubborn, brilliant partner in chaos, engineer Tom Halloran. The drones didn't fight ships. They ate them, nanite by nanite, disassembling hull plating and rerouting power conduits faster than any defense system could track, let alone stop. Colonel Whitfield had given the operation its name months ago, half as a joke that stuck. Termite Protocol. Deploy the swarm, she said now. Calm as still water. Ostrowski's hands moved across the console. Swarm deployed. Contact in 90 seconds. On the Vashtorr flagship, alarms began screaming in a language of light and sound that meant, roughly, everything was failing at once. Threxa watched, disbelieving, as her 3rd cruiser's hull simply peeled open along seams that shouldn't exist, venting atmosphere and crew into vacuum incomplete. Eerie silence. Weapons status, she barked. Offline. All decks. The metal itself, Admiral. It's coming apart. Threxa had conquered 11 worlds. She had watched civilizations burn from orbit and felt nothing but the satisfaction of order restored. She had never, in 400 years of campaigns. He felt what gripped her chest now. It was the beginning of fear. Second wave, Whitfield ordered. The Cascadia and her sister ships surged forward, not into the heart of the Vashtorr formation, but around its flanks, herding the crippled fleet the way a sheepdog works a herd too large and too frightened to understand it's already lost. Human pilots, trained on simulators that had run 10,000 permutations of this exact battle, flew with a precision that looked to Vashtorr sensors. Almost inhumanly patient. That was the joke of it, Whitfield thought. It wasn't inhuman. It was the most human thing there was, the willingness to wait, to plan, to let an enemy walk fully into a trap of its own arrogance before the door swung shut. 11 species had challenged the Vashtorr and lost because they'd fought the Dominion's war. Head on. Ship for ship, strength for strength, humanity had simply refused to play. Threxa stood on her dying bridge as the last of her weapon systems went dark. Around her, half her fleet drifted powerless, hulls riddled with silent spreading corrosion. The other half was already retreating in a panic that violated every article of Dominion combat doctrine. A single hail request blinked on her console. Humans. She almost didn't answer it. Pride, even in defeat, dies slowly. She answered it. Colonel Whitfield's face appeared unremarkable, tired, utterly without malice. Admiral Vol, you have one chance to withdraw what's left of your fleet. We won't pursue past the Kessler line. That offer expires in 10 minutes. You could destroy us all, Threxa said. It wasn't a question. We could, Whitfield agreed. We're choosing not to. Ask your historians what that word means to us. It's not the same as mercy for its own sake. She paused. It's a message. Tell your Dominion Council, humanity isn't the 12th conquest. We're the last mistake you get to make. The transmission ended. 9 minutes later, what remained of the Vashtorr armada limped into retreat, dragging its wounded pride across the dark. Threxa sat alone on her ruined bridge, long after the stars swallowed Earth from view. Turning one phrase over in her mind like a stone worn smooth by water, the last mistake you get to make. Back on the Cascadia, Colonel Dana Whitfield finally allowed herself to sit down. Ray Ostrowski slid a cup of lukewarm coffee across the console without a word. Below decks, in a lab that smelled of solder and burnt coffee, Priya Anand watched her swarm data stream in. Millions of tiny machines, still working, still patient. Still hers. Earth hadn't won because it was stronger. It had won because it had learned, in 18 months of silence, exactly what its enemy expected, and had built something else entirely. Word spread through the Dominion faster than any fleet could travel. There was a species out past the quiet stars that didn't fight wars. It ended them, and it was still, terrifyingly, being patient.